didn't make it. All to be revealed. What a day. Right up until about 30 minutes ago, I was trying to get things going. I don't know, does my picture look all right? Is it too dark, too light? I had a late camera swap. Used the new camera for last month's show. This month, for some reason, it didn't want to play. I've got to do some homework on that. So apologies if it looks a bit different technically, but hopefully it's still okay. I've just got different monitors and things here, and it looks a bit odd. So a thumb up if it looks all right. Right, here we go. I'll do some hellos. Firstly, and for the audio viewers, the audio version followers, this is episode 196 of the Phil Swallow Show, July 2026. Glad to have you here. Obviously, some people are here with us now, recording live, blah, 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 and others will listen or watch later on. So we got some highs. We got David, hello. We got DJ Puff. It says Henlows, but I think you mean hello. Are we there yet? What was the Palace score? The Palace score was a ridiculous and quite embarrassing 3-0. Awful goals. I mean, they were so soft, and we couldn't hit a thingy with a banjo. But anyway, there was a friendly. I'm not going to get too wound up by it. Eden Phil, we're not playing bingo tonight, so you have full attention. Thank you. I don't know if I'm offended that if it wasn't for the bingo. Anyway, looks fine, good, seems good. Thank you, brilliant. Hi Paul, we got a thumbs up. Jeff, sorry I'm late. Glad you've joined us, Jeff. Hope things are good down there on the coast. Yeah, Mum's not too bad, although part of my challenges today was I don't know if all doctors are like this, but with the GP that Mum's under, you have to fill in a triage form, and in some ways it's better because you lay out what the reason is for a doctor visit, and they have all the various things that is it this, if it is 999, but no, it's just some things that the carer picked up. But yeah, she's very frail, under the frailty team at it comes under Surrey, it's all sort of Surrey borders, so yeah, she's but she's in okay in herself. Yeah, she's okay. She's doing her best, I suppose. She still likes her food, even though she's frail. She still likes her food. And for those watching in black and white, it's just behind the blue. Exactly, it is. I didn't even have time to set up my lights. But then I thought, actually, it's summer. I've got the window open here, and obviously there's a bit of light coming in, although it probably doesn't show on here. Yeah, but because of how challenging my day was, one way and t'other. I mean, I got stuff done, but I was never at one thing for very long, and I was into Croydon and out again, and a fine and sunny evening, everyone. It is a nice evening, isn't it? So this is meant to be cooler, and then it gets up to 30 odd, I think, middle of the week, and then it gets cooler again, but still not really cool. And I think I'm right in saying we're not going to get any rain in our area. I think what's the point? You can't hose anything. The lawn's dead. I'm going to decide I'm going to have the best looking lawn in autumn, winter and spring now. In the summer it's just going to be a write-off. So we will settle into the show shortly. I was just jotting a few things down. I know this is your agenda today. So we've had some major cat issues. Thankfully she's doing okay now. She's almost back to how she was. She's never been an ill cat. We've had her about 10 years. She's about 11 years old. And she wasn't eating, and we thought she was in some discomfort. We had 4 vet visits in 3 days. She's been shaved all over the place in different patches. She's had ultrasounds, drips and all sorts. But I say she's kind of back on track. But that wiped out half of the week or more last week. And of course, it's always on your mind, isn't it? We look after our pets. So yeah, she's doing okay now, Olive. So we're pleased about that. Just got to get the insurance claim sorted out because it was 1,600 quid, something like that. That's probably standard, really. Yeah, I had some family stuff going on. Sue's mum as well needed some, a couple of visits and things here and there. Still managed to do some good research and get some good findings, but it's about pulling it all together. So I did film the other day. DJ Puff the Third, Jonathan, is on the call. He correctly noted that it was 77 Addington Road, Coney Hall. So sneak peek, spoiler alert, I've done a little walk and talk in Coney Hall, not a long video, but it's been mainly focused on the Art Deco and the Morels building development that took place. And I'm hoping in there that I tell some things that haven't been told or that are not widely known. Lovely part of the world. The whole mix of houses there, quite fantastic. So I did some of that editing today and hopefully crack on with editing tomorrow. I really want to get it live this week before the end of the month, which I think is Friday, but I want to get it done within the next day or so. So sorry, couldn't hear, had to turn the aircon down, lol. Yes, so we've been quite busy. So I'm going to go now to some comments that I've got on here. I won't share the screen per se. So I just thought, let's put a little thing out there and get some discussion going. Because obviously I always tell you about what I'm doing, and Jonathan, through his channel, takes us on some delightful digs where he goes underground digging for stuff and doing a lot of clearance work in the process and finding old glassware and ceramic ware. So give him a look up, give him a follow. That's really some really interesting stuff there. But he made a joke thinking that I mainly like houses and lineage history. Well, I do, but I'm kind of interested in it all, really. Interested to hear my thoughts and others. That's you guys. Historically in Croydon, the oldest settlements were Bronze Age in Crowham, Neolithic sites, Iron Age and Roman. So that's the first bit. We've got Saxon remains found at Coulsdon, Lion Green. And I did some walking through a recent Saxon burial area up at the top of Riddlesdown area, where we all drive through the cemetery. Old sites on OS maps, and north of the borough before the town's building explosion of Victorian and post times. Saxon burial site on OS not far from Mitcham Junction. Most remains visible in the south of the borough. I mean, I guess it's a case of I don't know what the rules were when development was carried out in the Victorian times in this kind of big explosion of housing. Nowadays, if you find something or it's a special site, you have to call in the archaeologists, but you didn't really have perhaps a thriving archaeology set up in those days. So I'm guessing that a lot was lost through the demand of building being more important, let's say, than finding and digging and documenting. That said, obviously, even into Roman London, we've got a lot of sites that have been preserved. But I don't know that I've looked at a map in the area and not found evidence, ruins. Just looking at one for Coney Hall, there's all sorts of evidence there. I'm just going to have a little check on the comments because I've seen a couple there that I might comment on. Continued drought, very worrying. Quite a few sites in the Croydon area which are looking vulnerable to wildfires. Yep. We keep, I think, most nights on the news there's some kind of fire, or there was that massive explosion the other day in Essex. Did they get to the bottom of that? Fertiliser or something? I mean, it won't take much to spark off a fire and then it'll just take hold. We had some worries here before because obviously the Shirley or Addington Hills area, big fire, I think 2023. I think most of that's grown back now, but it exposed a lot of the litter and debris amongst other things. 5 months without much rain. Evening Merlin's cat. Moles are beginning to starve due to the dry weather. Lack of worms, indeed. Aircon, I should be so lucky. Moles the pity. I mean, there's all sorts of casualties, isn't there? So actually, why don't let's do it. We haven't done one of these for a while. Let's share a screen and hopefully this works. So you should see, hopefully, and I'm going to zoom it in a bit and try and prove some of what I've found. So we've got, firstly, not a lot of people may know this. So hopefully you can see this, thumbs up, whatever. This is the marvellous and wonderful National Library of Scotland website, and this is the this particular is the geo-reference images which I use all the time. So this is Sarnstead. This is from about the 1890s, 1888 to 1913. It says in the bottom corner. And Sarnstead Hill for a long time was Britton Hill. There we go, Britton Hill. We've got Britton Hill Farm and Britton Hill Road. Big houses down here, probably. Well, I think the library was round about here now. Hooks Hill, there's Hook Hill, there's Sarnstead Station on this map. It may not be this series, so I'm going to go. Let me just move that out of the way. I'm just going to select a different map. The one that I find is really good for detail is 1892 to 1914. So let's go back to full screen view. This I just realised this won't work very well on audio, but you can always look at it. So this is something that I picked up for a talk that I did back in May. So this is Sarnstead Hill West and Sarnstead Hill East. Site of flint workings, site of Anglo-Saxon cemetery. So if we have a look at what that is now, it's just large houses with some land, although I'd like to think that perhaps some of the actual site may have been in the gardens, but these houses are probably still the ones that are there. And this is the picture all over the place, really. You don't have to look too far to see perhaps some old workings, or I'm going to zoom out a bit, see if I can find something else. Workings, gravel pits. Let's go up the hill. Very large houses there where Olmsted Gardens is. Burt's Close Plantation. And we've got the reservoir, no longer there. Now, if you've been walking in Sarnstead Plantation, there's a little signpost there that says this is the highest point in Croydon or something. That basically is in the top of that old disused reservoir, which is, it's either capped off or filled in. Got a little bit of land work there. I did a walk on Water Tower in Ice House. Look, there we go, Ice House. Don't know if that's what's there now. Tennis courts for the school, but there was an ice house there. So maps are treasure troves, really. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I could scroll all my way over there. This could be interesting. Addington Lodge. Anyone know what Addington Lodge is? Covered it before. Fisher's Farm Refuse Site. That's Addington Lodge. Perhaps not quite as grand now as it was then. And I want to get over to where I've just been, West Wickham. There we go. Zoom in again so you can see. So Coney Hall Farm was where it started off. I've just edited that bit. But here, look, we've got ancient earthwork just at West Wickham Common. Thankfully, all of this is still as was, but there's a bit of a clearance there where the earthwork was. I don't know, perhaps LiDAR might be able to reveal a bit more. So, as I say, you don't really have to look too deep, too far on any of these map images to A, find features, and then B, using that marvellous scrolling. And you can choose what you scroll to. So you can scroll to LiDAR, you can scroll to Google Satellite. I use different ones. It depends what I'm trying to put across when I'm doing the video. So, and I think picking up on what I said before, it would appear that because we've got the green belt kicking in around this sort of area, where we go from the London boroughs to the counties, that's really where the building was controlled, and that's probably why earthworks and special sites and Roman sites, I mean places like Titsy Place and that in the grounds there's a couple of Roman villas. There's also a Roman site up near, what's the services? Always forget it. Clackett's Lane services on the M25, just up from there. I think it's a part of the lane which is at the back of the plot, and you might be able to reach it from the other side, or certainly reach it on foot. But there's another sort of site over there. So let's just pop back to the main screen for now. So yeah, I mean, you know, anything, I haven't got an actual checklist, but when I'm doing the research for videos, it's very much a case of what can we find out from, going through the layers, going through the timeline. I do a timeline on a spreadsheet to cut what's the furthest back I can go realistically and get some evidence from my home, from my PC, my desktop, Mac, and then fill in the blanks. We did the story with Richard on Wimwell Road area, and we're going to do a follow-up. And this time we're going back a bit further, so back a bit to Croydon Common, and then there was the Enclosure Act, and then it was gradually developed. At the turn of the 1800s, early 1800s, there was no cemetery there, so all that was kind of developed over time. And actually doing the research for that, I've found answers to other questions about other different projects that I'm working on as well. So it literally is a complete and utter treasure trove. There we go. So we've got a couple of the 2-story block at Phipps Bridge went up to. Yeah, I saw Sue showed me a bit of that on her phone. Not one for a grasp, but quite shocking. NLS, brilliant. I can tell, Jonathan, from the stuff that you've done, when you've gone out onto your sites, that you most definitely get the benefit of NLS. And between that and I did some digging on some of the other sites, we did some work on that, and I've forgotten the name of it, but the farm at the back of New Addington. The views up there were fantastic, weren't they? So this is, I suppose it's where the industrial estate is, or behind the land behind that area. But you wouldn't realise that you're so close to Croydon until Jonathan in the video panned round and you see all the views of the London skyline. Hi Rick, good to see you. Used NLS side by side to help me find places where vintage bottles are. Well, is there a map reference for vintage bottles? Because I'm intrigued as to how you find out where they are, all these pits. Saxons in Sanderstead too, yep. And I think couple of them that I did in videos before, up near Botley Hill, Bronze Age enclosures, and another one, Nor Hill, which is on the way to Botley Hill. You can't speed as fast down there now, it's 40 miles an hour, used to be 60. Some country lanes are 60 miles an hour. I was thinking you'd be a complete maniac to do 60. Anyway, Maze Farm, that's it, yeah, brilliant, lovely vista. So Maze Farm over at the back of New Addington, there's some really nice features over there. Now, it's hard to gauge, really. I have a lot of interest in it, and I try to put a story around it, like with things like World's End and whatever. But you never quite know until you do this what the level of interest is. But I don't know. It is a voyage of discovery, isn't it? If I see something, I think, oh, what was that? And I have to find out. Often to the detriment of other things that I plan to do sooner. But no vintage glass option. Yeah, I thought there might be a little flag on there, vintage glass here. But you managed to find it anyway. I won't ask for your trade secrets. So yeah, that's I think we have to say, because we know our history, that these sites are all over the place. There will be some locations that would lend themselves much more to bases for a community, high grounds, water sources and all that sort of stuff. But even then, if you go back far enough, it was water everywhere, wasn't it? Marshland and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think because we've got some high ground here, we find a lot of features. I think that's what they say, isn't it? Features. So that was that. Now the other thing I'm going to show you, if I haven't lost the site, I did have it open earlier, and I'm going to have to find it again. Where are we? This is good TV, isn't it? Right, another screen share so I can show you another website. There we go. And thank you to Martin for suggesting this. Now folks, I'm sure you've probably heard of the Open House Festival. We have the details here. It's 12th to the 20th of September. Full programme open for bookings on the 19th of August. Now, I'm convinced that people wait up until midnight, like the night before, log in and grab all the good stuff. They do have some early information. You can filter on areas. I'm partly obscured here, but let's see if I can find do a search for Croydon and see what comes up. Croydon Urban Room, that's in the library complex. Museum of Croydon behind the scenes tour. An East Croydon history walk. Now, does it say where they are? When they are? It doesn't at this stage. Let's have a click on it. Architect unknown. Start of the cricketers. Historic walking tour of Croydon led by a native. Threepenny bit. Set in the 60s. Right, okay, so this could be interesting. Or Saturday the 12th. Book tickets is greyed out. How to book? No, it's probably going to be Eventbrite or one of those. So that might be one that's interesting to some. Croydon Minster, I've done that one before. I'm not sure. Let's have a look at what's involved there. Bell towers, you can tour the bell towers. Went up there, rang a bell, did some handbell ringing. That was good fun. 12th and the 13th. And these, obviously, you don't always get a chance to go and visit in this particular depth. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, St Bernard's Estate. Sunday the 13th. That could be a busy day, couldn't it? Right. Now, I hadn't looked at this. This is as fresh to you as it is to me, or me as it is to you. I've been quite interested in that. Those of you who came on the walk a few weeks back, we covered a bit of Park Hill. St Michael's Church, amazing building. Been there for many years. It perhaps doesn't show you from the outside how beautiful it is on the inside. So if you can go to St Michael's Church, I thoroughly recommend it. I did some photographs for them last time I was here. 12th and 13th, busy weekend. They're all getting in early. Is that Wavell Court? I don't know where that is. It says East Croydon. Guided tours, drop in. They're a bit easier when they drop in because you can just turn up, obviously, and drop in. David Lean's cinema tour. Piff Paff right to play. Okay, Brockley's Historic Muse. That's a bit out of the boundary, so some of these are a bit further out now. Sanderstead Library, which is now a slightly different story sanctuary. There we got there. Norman Fisher Observatory. Little Mouse Cheese Shop. South Norwood Library. I mean, H.G. Wells Bromley in his own words. As you can see, guided tour of the Fairfield Halls, Whitgift Almshouses. Please, if you can, get in early on this one. Really, really enjoyable. You can't have been to Croydon in your life and not notice the almshouses, but it's quite rare to actually get in and have a tour and a guided tour of them, and it's really, really good. Went on it a couple of years ago. This is also on Saturday the 12th. It seems like if keep that weekend free. Know what you're going to go for and in what order, and then just jump in as soon as you can. Maybe stay up late on the 18th, 19th night, because there's some incredible stuff here. Tower Gardens Suburb, don't know where that is, and National Audit Office. So some of these might be a little bit further afield, and you can search. So they're all over the place. Let's just very quickly. Bromley. And this is just, if you just do a search on Open House, you'll get the website. It's actually programme.openhouse.org.uk. Bromley Town Centre, St Mary's Church, H.G. Wells again, Bishop's Palace, Herne Hill Velodrome, West Wickham Library, recently had some work done, Bethlehem Royal Hospital. This is a really good one. Walking tour, but they've got the museum there, which is very good, and that's on Monday. Okay, Monday the 14th. So if you don't go to work, or if you've got a day off, that'd be a good one to consider as well. So it's really, really good. Thank you, Martin, for suggesting that. I thoroughly recommend jumping in. Yeah, St Michael, All Angels, and St James. And yeah, so let's go back to me. I might come back again. You never know. To the share. But yes, Coughlin's gone. Business rates were part of it. Obviously, perhaps sales weren't as good. I think they expanded their network to try and bring in more sales, but obviously there's a cost to doing that. There was also something online about the directors moving funds to a different business or something before it went, but it's online if you want to read all about it. But very sad. We got one. Well, if you go from where we live, from here up to sort of Sanderstead Way and just anywhere in a kind of circle around Croydon, there's loads of Coughlin stores that are now shut, sadly. And also, so they shut the one at the precinct at Caterham on the Hill. Obviously, I shut them all, but they had one there. And I also heard that the angling store next door, which I think has been there a long, long time, they're closing down as well. So business rates, one of the main issues. Right, we've got Martin's got his eye on 2 or 3 options. Bookings open. Oh, bookings open at midday. Okay, I thought it was overnight. Right, okay, maybe they tried to stop that. So a little reminder there. Carshalton Water Tower and grounds including the Hermitage. I've looked at that before, Carshalton. I feel I've got more work to do in this area before I go slightly further afield, but you never know. It might happen, and it was an end of an era for Coughlins. So many of these things. I mean, you get a bakery counter in the big supermarkets and things, or even the smaller ones like the co-ops, but it's not quite the same as having a fully fledged baker. But that is the world we live in right now. Very, very sad indeed. So please dive in on the comments, anything else that you may want to discuss or share with me and the group. That would be great. I know I periodically talk about good things that we've seen on TV. We just finished what I believe is season 1 anyway of Widow's Bay on Apple TV. Really entertaining. Matthew Rees, brilliant. And I've forgotten the name. Is it Cathy O'Flynn? But anyway, really good acting, good casting, comedy horror, but not as you'd expect. So really good. Recommend that one if you've got Apple. And also The Bear, we just finished that. That has finished, about a restaurant in Chicago. It was on Disney Plus, but that was really good. Really gritty, get your teeth into them, well acted, well put together. So recommend those if you're looking for something to watch. Sorry, someone caught my eye as they're just walking past the house. I don't normally have that luxury, and I shut everything down. Used to deliver cream to Coughlins at Thornton Heath when you worked for Jones Dairy, blimey. So yeah, they've been going since the 1930s. And I know, is it Sean Coughlin? He posted a lot on social media, big Palace fan, so he was obviously over the last couple of years of success, he's been talking a lot online about that. Yeah, I mean, I the business rate increases are obviously forcing businesses to go under. They just can't afford that increase. So it goes from a local authority getting income from business rates to not, because there's no business anymore. So run that logic past me. I know it's probably a lot more complex than that, the whole economics around it. And you and I probably end up paying for it eventually if they don't get the income that they thought they were going to get from the rate rises. But yeah, it's really sad, really sad. The only chance you've got of success, it seems, is if you start up now when all those costs are sky high and people are shopping differently and living their lives differently. But yeah, it's quite tragic, really. We need them to be, well, I think we do try and support them, but sometimes it's just other things get them in the end. So yeah, I mentioned earlier that we still continue to get some really quite nice comments about the Windmill Road video, and shining a light on that and looking beyond it, finding out just what it was like prior to that. And then it was quite a rough and ready estate, the Bangor estate, Wilford Road and Foster Road, which is now represented by a recreation ground, but we plan to kind of walk around there. But yeah, found some interesting discoveries to share when we get that video done, hopefully in the month of August. Richard and I will be out again. Selsdon Park Hotel revamp now has planning permission. Yeah, so I think people might have been concerned about the planning application if they just read the headlines, but they have. I think part of it's just the structural, like the windows and stuff like that. And I know it's locally listed, but I don't know, that hopefully gives them some favour when going through planning. Well, the golf, getting rid of the golf course. I mean, the golf course went when it closed off at the end of New Year's Eve 2021. The site closed, and then it took over a year for Birch to fit it out and get it ready for their offering, which was a failed business model in the end. The guy who took it over spoke at the Selsdon Residents Association AGM that I attended, and he made it clear that there wasn't going to be the golf. They're going to make use of the Lido because it had some work done, and have a paddle courts, paddle tennis, I think, or is it pickleball? I think it's paddle. Get confused with the two racket thingies or bat thingies. So yes, so they're going to do some work. They said they're going to sell off some of the area to the sort of equestrian side of things. But no, the golf course wouldn't come along. It's a shame. I felt if they kind of sold that off, leased that off, because they still own the land, they still own that plot. But I felt that they could have done a 9-hole course and maybe 2 different tee positions, just so it felt like you were playing 18. It's doable. You've got the layout there, but maybe that's just somewhere they didn't want to go. Who knows? Once they're up and running, if they turn it into a successful business, because they want people to use their facilities there, they'll eventually get the gym or leisure centre up and running again. They're going to have a restaurant that they will want people to use, and hopefully go in there for coffee and meetings. I think many of us will go up there and probably suss it out, but it won't be until next summer, I think, at the earliest. But we'll keep tabs. I've got a few contacts in Selsdon that are quite close to what's going on there, so hopefully it will at long last be a thriving and successful business. They really did, to me, they came across like they really had their head screwed on, and weren't daunted by the project and by what may have happened to previous iterations. Right, Jeff, do I mind if you ring me later on when I finish the show? No, please do. I'm intrigued now. Yeah, ring me later on, Jeff. That's fine, no problem at all. Yeah, golf course, Selsdon Park. So, I mean, Selsdon's, that the building is only about 102 years old in its current iteration. But the plot there, it was always the kind of seat of a large house with lots of land, and so it's got the history there. And I think the current owners want to protect that and kind of promote the historical aspect of it. So I might even get involved in it, you never know. But we'll see what happens there. I'm not going to commit myself even more. I've got quite a few going on as it is. So yeah, my talking season has taken a bit of a summer break now, which is good. So many groups sort of closed down in the main summer months. So I go back in September with 2 in one day. And then we're having a few days away, and then I've got some others later on in the month, and the season picks up again. I've got talks booked that I haven't actually written the talks for yet, so I need to find time for that as well. I kind of know the story, and what I need to do is perhaps throw what I've got into a kind of PowerPoint and then hack it around from there. But I do love telling these stories. It's great fun. If you can come along, please do. That was one of the other things that I'll do. RIP Bill Oddie. Yes, absolutely. Great sadness, Bill Oddie. I think many of us on this call would have grown up with Bill Oddie and obviously the goodies, but they all kind of had their own projects that they went on to do and thrive in doing. So yeah, it was great. Really good. Goody yum yum. So I'll tell you what I'll do. A bit of shameless presentation. Actually, no, I need to do this a different way. Let's go to... Oh, come on. Right. nearly there. Hooray. And I am there, and I'm just going to show you screen share again. So this is my website, which some of you may have been to, some of you may not. And I've been doing quite a bit of work on this recently. One of the things that I've done is this used to just be my talks. So in here, if someone's going to book me for a talk, they say, what do you have talks about? And I say, well, it's all these subjects here. So 6 main subjects at the moment. And then down here, I've got coming soon, Woodside Court, West Hall area, and West Wickham. So they're the 3 that I'll be working on. Haven't actually got a date for West Wickham, but the other 2 are committed. And what I've done is, so in the schedule, I've got this event here. So I've started to put these live shows in. And from here, what you can do is if you view the event, you've got the link to download, or link to connect to the show here. That'll just take you to the YouTube show. And if you click on either the Google Calendar or ICS, it will download one of those calendar entries to put in your own calendar, just as a reminder. And then also into this page, when I've got the next, let's just scroll down a bit more. So I've put the July and August ones in, and then I've got my talks. Some of these aren't necessarily public, although I think if you asked someone to come along because you had an interest in the subject, I've always got the organisers' details, and you could just contact me and we could get you in. The Bourne Society, you just pay on the door. September Live, another U3A one here, Sarnstead, blah blah blah. So they're all the various things that I get involved in, if not publishing videos. And I just thought, well, if I put them here, then it's kind of just one place to go to and find from the website, philswallow.com, talks and events, and then you can go from there. So it'll kind of grow a bit more. I'm planning September, probably the latter half of September, to do an in-person walk in Sanderstead. I've got the route worked out, well, because it's an old one that used to be it was originally put together by the Bourne Society. I'm going to add some extras to it. And there'll be me doing that one, but there might be some other opportunities. I've been speaking to some of my Sanderstead friends, and we might kind of badge it as a bit of a celebration of Sanderstead for their Residents Association centenary, that we just get some maybe groups of people that are interested in just having a wander and pointing out some of the sites. Most of them are still there. Some of them are not there. But what I'll do is, if you've been on the walks before, you'll know that I carry a folder with kind of map images or old photos, and we can kind of thumb through and at least kind of hold it up and say, that's what it used to look like, where that is now. Waitrose, it used to be Borough Farm, and so on and so forth. So that's the intention. It might be that that's run a couple of times by me, maybe. So sort of September into October. And again, I'm trying to get 3 or 4 people that can host them as well to take the residents around, and we'll see how it goes. But just something a bit different. I had some really good feedback from the couple that I've done so far, and it's just nice to meet up face to face. We're all like-minded people, and we can all celebrate some really good stuff, really good history we've got around us. So yeah. So we've got some Kit and Kong. Do you remember that? Sky thumping, Ecky thump. Yeah, just, I hope that they do a bit of a celebration on TV of Bill. I mean, Bill was brilliant in terms of all his nature thing. I know it was a bit sad how he left Springwatch. They seem to be forever mucking about with the presenters there over the period of time. But yeah, the goodies were just something else, weren't they, really? The tricycle, wasn't a tricycle, was it? It's a 3-way tandem thing. Yeah, absolutely wonderful goodies. Really, really good entertainment back in the day. So, yes. Have I got anything else on here? No. I mean, I as I say, I keep putting extras in to the diary, thinking, right, today I could go out and do this, and then something comes in and just wipes it out. I'm always kind of like a tightly wound spring or something, trying to get stuff done. Martin Miles' big Causden history nuts. Might be worth getting in touch with him if you're researching. Yeah, I mean, I've seen Martin. I don't know if I've ever spoken with Martin. I know pretty much anything on any of the Causden history or some of the Croydon history things that have a connection with Causden. I see Martin's name, so must have a chat with him at some point. Hello, Frederick does. We had a little chat on the comments the other day. Thank you for coming along. Ronnie Ledrew, the voice and puppeteer of Zippy from Rainbow. Oh, he passed away as well. Graham Garden, yeah, so he's the only survivor. Because Tim Brooke Taylor, he did a lot of the BBC comedy things, I think the Radio 4 comedy things. And then he came back a bit, he's obviously a keen golfer because he came back and I think it was on Discovery Channel. And he would golf and play golf with like a pro at various different golf courses. And I play a bit of golf, played around the other week, not very well. But it was good. See, he was quite a relaxed guy and really nice, easy watching programs with the late Tim Brooke Taylor. So yeah, I say I'm going to keep an eye out for old reruns or something. They probably have to think about them for political correctness nowadays. You don't always get away with certain things that you may have got away with before. So. Yes, Anderson Shelters and Allotments was mentioned by one of our recent joiners to the chat, so that's something I need to look at. I know I think there are quite a few still dotted around. People have like repurposed them. I think there's so many of these where it's sometimes easier to just cap these structures off rather than fill them in or dig them out. So they're almost their own bit of history, really. And there's another bit of research that came about from a friend of ours that relates to a story of a doodlebug in Mitcham, so that might be something else to look into. So cool. Time flies, doesn't it? So I've kind of done my agenda. I think we've done all suggested here. I'm now going to just have a quick look. Yeah, that was something else that Martin you mentioned. About museums, yeah, visiting them. Oh, on that point, so a couple of weeks back, Sue had a headshots done, actor headshots, and I had a bit of time to kill, so I went to the Crystal Palace Museum. Really, really good. Thoroughly recommend it. Free to get in, and a nice welcome from the lady at the door, and then just look round the exhibits at my leisure. But what a structure that would have been. Remember my dad talking about when it burnt down. He was a boy, but it was seen from miles around. So yeah, museums, support museums. We've got obviously East Surrey Museum. Martin, I know you're connected with that. That's really good down in Caterham on the Hill. I mean, if you go there on a train, you'll almost walk out of the train and into the museum. It's that close. Digging a fire pit in the garden about 2 feet deep. Hit this solid rock. I'm going to put this on. It was like bedrock. One of my neighbours had an Anderson shelter in his garden. Do you know anything about them? Well, I mean, so I think they were all over the place, weren't they? That I'm not sure they were great fun to spend a lot of time in, the Anderson shelters. I don't know too much about the programme from how they were delivered. I think you had to do a bit of work yourselves, and maybe they would send through the corrugated iron and stuff like that, and you follow some instructions and away you go. So let's have a look. A couple of Andersons at the AWS allotments. Problems still have Andersons in back gardens. You can always be looking over fences and walls. Yeah, so there's probably quite a few around. As I say, I think some of them are repurposed or had maybe some structure just bunged on top. But yeah, so good. Right, well, as I say, a little bit different tonight. And I've got some, well, hopefully helps you with your planning of open house. And keep an eye on the website for events if you're interested in coming along to any of the talk subjects. Love to have you along. We've got Sanderstead History Group this Wednesday, All Saints Hall, Onslow Gardens, 2 p.m. start. The subject is part 2 of the history of the shops at Cranley Parade. So all the shops in the parade along Sanderstead. We got Brenda Hawkins coming along and giving us a talk there. She did the first part last year, so that should be interesting too. If you can come along, £2 gets you in, gets you talk and a cup of tea. What more could you ask for? More like concrete. So, okay. One other read. Okay, so congratulations, Friends of Hailing Grove and Coombe Gardens, for their work being awarded the green flag, even though you're a member of the latter. Corrugated underground, even if the metal's been removed. Yeah, I guess, yeah, so you see the, right, so the metal's come away, but you get the corrugated wavy line in the concrete. Mum shelter, my mum and sister, granddad and granny, plus 2 Belgian refugees and their toddler. Yeah, and you would have had to be under there for quite some time and not necessarily protected. There were some horror stories of what happened to some people actually in the shelters. So, yeah. Right, okay, well, I'll call it a day there, an evening. Thank you very much for coming along and joining in. The audio version obviously will go live. I might do it straight away just so that it's there and done and dusted. Keep an eye out for the Coney Hall video featuring Art Deco. I've enjoyed the edit so far, and I'm only a little way in, so hopefully that'll go down nicely as well. And yeah, look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.